The Kyuubi exploited the opportunity to close in, its sword raised. Kazama redirected the rain at the creature, who, taken aback, reacted on instinct by deflecting them. It missed a few, two of them embedding in its chakra body, but it didn't slow it much. "You are powerful, I will give you that," the Kyuubi said for the first time, its voice deep and sinister, "but a snake, no matter how venomous, can be trampled underfoot." "Bark all you want," Kazama replied, ending the technique, "I got what I came for." "What are you blabbering?" The creature glanced at its fan, cut in half by a sword it had missed, its seals disintegrating. "Oh." The fan exploded in a blast of fire, throwing the humanoid Biju backward, next to its Jinchuriki, as the wood shield dropped. A woman materialized out of the flames, and Kazama found her perfect in every way. "You took really long," Izanami laughed, "I was about to break myself out." "Sorry," Kazama smiled back, leaping to her side, "I will do better next time." "There better not be a next time," she replied with a foxy grin, focusing back on Kushina. "We'll make out later. I've got adolescence issues to put to rest right now." A powerful shockwave shook the entire pocket dimension, as the humanoid Kyuubi grew in size and ferocity. Kazama and Izanami leapt back, as the transformation intensified. A few seconds later, they found themselves facing a colossal, nine-tailed replica Kyuubi, its golden body marred with black linings. Its Jinchuriki stood atop its head. "Playtime is over," Kushina declared, black zetsu floating behind her shoulder like a twisted shoulder devil. "Your boyfriend's death will be the last thing your eyes will see before I rip them out, Uchiha." "Honey, please, I have the most beautiful eyes in the world," she boasted, her Sharingan swirling, "and they see a lot more than you think." Kushina frowned from atop her beast, biting her lower lip in rage. "You dirty little cheater. I see the way your chakra moves, Kushina," Izanami declared, "your technique is ninchu turned toward itself. Instead of connecting with a living creature, you commune with a previous incarnation of your soul from the depths of the pure world. It then manifests as your black friend there, using your chakra as a medium to help you in battle. This is probably what Edo Tensei was based on." She smiled confidently. "And you know what? No one can command the dead like I do." Her chakra flared like a pyre. A form materialized behind her, a powerful figure of azure chakra. It was a man made of ghostly fire, with flaring eyes and a longsword in his right hand. "From the depth of your soul, I have awakened," the figure declared with a thundering voice. "I am your forefather, Indra, of the Otsutsuki clan. I have answered your call, my descendant." Jutsu Compendium. Shiranui. The Fire from Beyond, S rank, a powerful ninchu technique Edo Tensei was later developed from. The user, through ninchu, links his own soul, summoning a previous incarnation from the depths of the pure world. The ghost manifests using the user's chakra and fights on their behalf, tapping into their host's reserves to power their techniques. Unlike Edo Tensei, a Shiranui is free-willed, incorporeal, and can only be banished from the material plane by targeting his host. Yang Release. Moonshards, A rank. Using Yang-aligned chakra, the user launches a volley of light projectiles at a target. Tailed Beast Avatar, S rank. Through a chakra synchronicity born of harmony, the Jinchuriki and the Biju partially separate. The soul of the Biju inhabits a body of chakra created by the Jinchuriki, allowing it to manifest in the physical world until the false body runs out of chakra. Zazenkai, S rank. A powerful space-time offensive ninjutsu, the user uses portals to spread vibrations across matter and air, devastating an area. Ko, S rank. Opening a path to a dead world covered by an ocean of acid, the user drenches an area with a deadly rain of corrosive poison. Previously on Echoes. At long last, Izanami has been rescued from Kushina's clutches, and the final battle with Uzu's forces is on. Tikoku is almost done for, its members dead or defected. Soon, only the warlord will remain. But can he even be defeated? Chapter 58. Before the end. The Hinata that Kabuto had brought back turned out to be catatonic and completely unresponsive. Considering who they were up against, Chibaku guessed having gone mad might have been a coping mechanism. After hours of trying to establish communication with her and failing, they had resorted to mind reading. The first Yamanaka that tried to get in had his head blown out 5 minutes into the process. Literally. It appeared the warlord had placed powerful protections on the girl to safeguard his secrets. As a result, they had been forced to resort to more complicated measures. A Naruto with rippled eyes, clad in the white and red robes of the Hokage, was now holding Hinata's head with both his hands, his face blank. I thought reading the mind of someone with the human path was lethal. Inari asked, observing the scene with interest alongside most of the high-ranking members of the anti-Tikoku alliance. Kabuto, the bastard, remained away from the others, escorted by a Sannin trio. Chibaku recognized the Orochimaru he had befriended among them, and supposed the other two were those who had helped put down Susanoo. I guess he developed a non-lethal version, Chibaku replied, his eyes drifting back from the treacherous Tikoku member to Hinata. I heard he was a genius. Wait, he has the Rinnegan, the Nine Tails, and is a genius? Karasu asked. And he's Hokage too. Some of us just hit the multiverse lottery big time. It happens every now and then. Inari replied with a careless shrug without turning away from the show. Come to think of it, our lives either end up sucking or are gloriously easy, but they're never average. Like we've got gods actually paying attention to us. What do you mean by, actually paying attention to us? Karasu frowned. I mean gods hate getting bored. Inari sighed. If the story they're watching is getting dull, they either change the channel and let things go wherever, or they mix things up a bit. Good, bad, doesn't matter which so long as it's interesting or is worthwhile to them somehow. Either way, shit tends to get messed up whenever they do bother with us lesser beings. That makes more sense than I'd like to admit. The Uchiha suppressed a shiver. Still, if it's true, then this version of us must have had one generous patron looking out for him. Considering how often we are born in Konoha, you'd think we'd see more get lucky enough to actually be Hokage. Peef, yeah right, Chibaku chuckled, I wouldn't call being Hokage a good thing. Too much work. Hey, don't mock the dream, Inari chuckled. It's got the most fabulous hat ever since Lelouch's. Well, that's more of a helmet, but still. Who? Karasu asked. This stick of a kid with as many family issues as the standard Sasuke that can pretty much spam Kotomatsukumi. Also, he screams and has the stamina of a 5-year-old civilian girl. Total prima donna. He's fun to mess with. Would you please be quiet? Yugito scolded them. Yes, Mom. The three of them replied in unison. The more the Rinnegan Naruto meditated on Hinata, the more his eyebrows creased and his skin whitened. By the time the mind reader was done, he seemed ready to collapse. So, Yugito asked. I thought no one was irredeemable, the Rinnegan user replied, his voice weak. I stand corrected. You cannot imagine half of what she went through. Haku gave him a cup of tea, which he drank slowly, as if he could drown the memories in it. I have already seen enough, so I will focus on what matters. The warlord has been using the shadow clone training since he first learned the technique, back when he was a genin. Not as most of us did, no, but constantly, day and night, weeks and months without rest, using hundreds, then thousands. He was a jonin by the time he was 13, mastered his Biju at 14, and then became Hokage at 15. When poor Hinata was put in this coffin, he had mastered all the techniques known to the 5 villages and single-handedly devastated his entire world. That was a generation ago. He's the true god of shinobi. That is why he is mad, Orochimaru theorized. The shadow clone technique is a kinjutsu not just because it taxes chakra reserves. The human brain can only hold a certain amount of information before being overloaded. For new memories to be created, others must be deleted. He doesn't know who he is anymore, the Rinnegan Naruto said. He sacrificed almost everything for more combat potential. He remembers thousands of lifetimes. He's an army of one, a single mind with 1,000 bodies. How can he function coherently then? Chibaku asked, doubtful. He compartmentalizes. He outsources his memories to his clones, which results in each of them having a different fighting style and personality. When the memories return to him, he creates another instantly so as not to be overloaded. So if we kill enough of his clones at once, or fast enough, Inari reasoned, the original will be overloaded and go catatonic. Possibly, the Rinnegan Naruto replied. He has grown so used to dispelling them it might not affect him anymore, but it may create a brief opening we can exploit if the original suffers a massive influx he cannot process quickly. Which is easier said than done. His clones do not dispel easily. Still, Inari is right, it might be exploited, Yugito said. How can we locate the original? Before he was aware of the multiverse, he used rings as receptors between his clones, so he could power them with chakra remotely. That way they never run out of it. I see, Chibaku crossed his arms, each ring is a receptor issuer. They form a web which the original can use to redistribute memories and chakra. If we destroy enough of them, we might jeopardize the entire network, causing the clones to run out of juice. Sort of like what my Nagato did with his 6 paths of pain and those metal rods of his, Inari mused. Only the so-called paths in this case are autonomous, making them more dangerous, and the original is free to do whatever he wants without needing to focus on sustaining the others. Clever. Every clone is unique, with specific techniques refined over lifetimes. He has a counter for everything, the Rinnegan user added. But he can't field them all at once. Each one can be considered an individual with their own faults. Yugito replied, if we force him to stretch his forces, isolate the clones and fight in teams, we would still be fighting smoke and shadows, Kabuto said, sounding amused. The original must die, or the war will never end. He's right. If he can spam quality clones as fast as we do our normal ones, then there'd be no end to it, Chibaku agreed. Could he be hiding in his homeworld? Too obvious, Karasu said. If I were him, I would change every day. With the ability to travel the multiverse, the original can hide literally anywhere. If only we had a method to track him across space and time. Best case scenario is if we get a hand on one of the rings, Inari spoke up firmly. To channel that much chakra to that many receptors over such a distance, he would have to make the connection an open source. There is no way he'd be able to shut off his link to it easily. We could capture a clone as well. We don't have to focus on the few that have the rings, and it would take too long to find them in the first place, Orochimaru suggested. If I can study his chakra signature, perhaps. Even if we find him, the original is the strongest, the Rinnegan bearer said. He out of all his various embodiment holds the most devastating techniques. Overcoming him will be the same as confronting a god. We've beaten gods before, sort of, Chibaku said. Speak for yourself, Inari grunted, unconsciously rubbing his jaw. Yugito firmly stepped forward. We will manage to kill a man, however powerful. The only question is, how do we find him? This will not be necessary, Kabuto said, his tone smug as if he enjoyed knowing something his former idol didn't. I know for sure where he will be within the following days. Chibaku would have frowned, if he still had eyelids. You do. You have missed the most important part of the warlord. He has shed all humanity and reason, to the point where life matters not to him anymore. He believes only he exists for real, and that anything but him is superfluous. In short, he believes himself to be God, the Alpha and the Omega. I don't see where this is going, Karasu said. Where it all began, Kabuto replied, where everything will end. Menma. The swordsman was fast. He wasn't even fighting with swords, but with his bare hands. Why use a blade on children? Menma thought grimly. He is beating the crap out of us easily enough as it is. Waves after waves of his clones exploded in clouds of smoke, poked at effortlessly by the samurai's fingers. There was no grace in his movement, only grim efficiency, but he didn't seem to be focused on attacking. If anything, he appeared to gauging Menma. As for the stadium, the 2 giants fighting near them had long since reduced it to rubble. Kagaya, the pale woman, whatever her name was, Menma hadn't really bothered learning it, had crafted a gigantic warrior of stone and wood from surrounding buildings, a brutish and simple golem, while she floated above it like a puppeteer pulling strings. Her foe, meanwhile, had materialized a Tengu warrior out of white chakra, as graceful as his opponent was simple. The 2 constructs were engaged in a sparring match, with the Tengu warrior executing a taijutsu move and sending the golem crash against the ground. It actually dispelled a few of Menma's clones who had been busy fighting Uzu's forces on the ground. The sudden influx of memory didn't break Menma's concentration, but remembering being ground to paste was unpleasant. As if suddenly deciding Menma was no threat after all, Mifune began to take steps forward. Sakura, moving like lightning, attempted to punch him in the torso, but Mifune sidestepped the blow and retaliated with a strike from his elbow. The kunoichi barely managed to vanish before the blow could connect, then tried to kick the samurai from behind in the back. Mifune dodged once more, wasting no movement. Exploiting Sakura's momentum, he turned around, positioned himself behind her, grabbed her by the throat, and finally attempted to smash her skull against the ground. Menma, moving faster than he thought was possible, charged at the samurai with a Rasengan. Mifune, seeing him coming, threw Sakura at him instead. Menma barely dodged, Sakura managing to land on her legs safely, but found himself open to attack. His hands wreathed in chakra, Mifune was soon at his throat, moving his arms like swords. The boy quickly joined his hands, releasing a powerful burst of wind and blowing dust and debris away, buying enough time for a last-ditch technique. Die, the samurai said with no malice, or emotion for that matter. If anything, his words were more used to simply describe the action that his victim would perform in the next moment. However, his hands pierced not flesh in that moment, but a stone that had been used for a replacement just an instant earlier. This did not interrupt the samurai's flow or surprise him. No, instead, he immediately moved to Menma's new position, undisturbed. When Sakura attempted to tackle him, he dodged with a leap to the side, without turning back. Either his senses are so sharp it's absurd, Menma thought, or he can divine our movements. He's either a censor, a potent one at that, or... Kazama had said that Uzumaki trained in the art of ninshu, the technique of chakra linking and distribution that had given rise to ninjutsu. Could it be used defensively? Sakura. I know. She probably had thought of it before he did, smart as she was. If we can hit him faster than he can move, it would still not be enough. Mifune stood away, his arms crossed. He's bored, Menma realized, feeling utterly insulted. The gap between us is far too wide. Don't look down on us, Sakura replied, I am a medic nin. So, let me introduce you to chakra biology's first lesson. First gate, open. Sakura was a flash before, but now when she moved Menma's eyes couldn't follow her. The sudden burst of speed unleashed dust and rubble around her, as Mifune extended his arms, adopting a defensive form. The kunoichi and the samurai engaged in a deadly dance of punches and kicks, neither actually hitting the other. Mifune was slightly slower, but his prescience and experience more than made up for it. However, while he was previously dominating her, he now seemed to struggle to hold his own. Unfortunately, while he seemed tireless, the first gate's boost wouldn't last forever. All he had to do was endure. Menma quickly formulated a plan. He joined his hands, formed a great spiraling ring, and then threw it at the samurai. Mifune dodged. Of course he did, but the orb exploded close enough for the shockwave to destabilize his footing, which Sakura ruthlessly exploited to kick him in the face with such violence and stored chakra her fist exploded upon contact. Such a blow should have blown Mifune's head off, but instead the samurai still stood, and was only pushed back a small distance. Worse, when the last of the helmet fell off, it revealed only dust and bone. An eyeless skull watched back, covered with red seals and spirals. The armored figure no longer looked thick and strong, but emaciated, a skeleton clad in heavy armor. A genjutsu, Menma realized. The helmet provided the illusion. So, Mifune said, his teeth unmoving, you see me as I am. You are dead. The surprise was enough for Sakura to interrupt her assault, however briefly. A man dies, but duty lives on. Even the sharpest blade can be dulled by age and illness, so my princess brought me back, so I may still serve. I feel neither pain nor tiredness. I do not hunger. I do not drink. I do not grieve. I am truly the pinnacle of samurai. No, Menma replied, you are just a shambling corpse. Believe what you want. The man put one hand on his scabbard, the other on his pommel. I have delayed long enough. I will finish both of you off once and for all. He vanished from sight, and before Menma knew it, a shockwave raced through the arena. When the dust settled, Menma realized Mifune was within an inch of cutting him down, without him even able to react. Yet the steel hadn't touched his flesh. Instead, someone stood between him and Menma, a towering figure in black armor, with a familiar face. I will be your opponent, the blonde woman said, Mifune backing away in a flash of speed. Sorry to be late, a familiar, awful voice said, as a man's shadow passed above Menma. Gods, he would recognize that one fucking face and voice among thousands. Obito Uchiha floated in the air, and was soon joined by another person. Menma recognized Sasuke Uchiha, although this one had a lot more class than his own, with his eyes almost white. Who are you? Mifune asked, seemingly unfazed by the newcomers. The Dark Wolf, the woman said. A title. From the strength of your blade, I assume it was earned. It is, she replied, pointing one of her swords at him, I demand single combat. A duel to the death. There was genuine interest in his tone. I am afraid this will not be enough. Who is to ensure that our fight will be what you desire? I will. My friend, she glanced at Sasuke, will make sure no one interrupts us. I would never have expected to cross paths with another honorable samurai beyond my lifetime, Mifune declared, very well, young wolf. I accept your challenge. The swordswoman tightened her hold on both blades. Leave, she ordered. I will take care of this. Let's go, Obito said, glancing at the two giants destroying the city in the background. We must destroy. Don't give me orders, Menma snapped involuntarily. Even if he knew this man wasn't his Obito, it was still uncomfortable to listen to him. Okay, the man replied. Do you need a lift? No, he replied icily, running on the winds. He gave one last nod to Sakura, who promptly vanished, and leaving the swordsmen to their duel. Both bowed to one another, then adopted their chosen fighting stances. Mifune said nothing. He raised a hand to his cloak, removed it, and let it fall on the ground. Then, raising his scabbard, he unsheathed a long katana, a superb blade whose edge was whirling with fire. A series of inscriptions were written on it. The samurai is the man among men. Then, without a word, he tossed the sheath aside and, before it even hit the ground, charged quick as the wind. The dark wolf rose up to the challenge, and moved to intercept him. Steel met steel, and they engaged in a whirlwind of blows, parries, and counter-strikes. Menma left a few shadow clones to observe, and stabbed Mifune in the back if the opportunity presented itself, and rose above the ground, forming a great spiraling ring within his palms. Hamura, he shouted, throwing the orb at the chakra giant. The Tengu warrior didn't even glance at him. Instead, he raised his left hand, opened his palm, and stopped the orb on contact. The projectile vanished instantly. Hamura, who was safely inside the giant construct, barely gave him a glance. Instead, he focused almost entirely on Obito, much to Menma's frustration. You bear something that does not belong to you, Uchiha, Hamura said. Hamura Otsutsuki, Obito replied, I've read about you. I expected someone taller. Was that supposed to be a comeback? Menma grumbled inside. Kagaya, who was floated above her very damaged golem, too, looked at Obito with confusion. Another Otsutsuki, she said, without raising her tone. No. Gravedigger, Hamura accused him, his Tengu giant raising his hand at Obito, begone from this world. Shinra Tensai. An invisible shockwave spread around Obito, and the Tengu warrior collapsed to his knees, crushing a few houses beneath it. The Tengu warrior vanished into 1,000 points of lights, while Hamura emerged from its remains, flying upward towards the Uchiha. Menma sent clones to intercept him, but the fallen sage destroyed them one after the other with the gentle fist. They didn't even slow him down. Kagaya descended to intercept her son, abandoning her golem. For a split second, Menma glimpsed the vision of a different world, made of lava and flames, superseding reality itself. Hamura's eyes shone, and the vision ended before it could become truth. Kagaya didn't bother to hide her surprise. Hamura, I have had 1,000 years to figure out the limitations of your powers, mother. Kagaya adopted a standard Hyuga fighting stance, as Hamura unleashed a volley of gentle fist strikes with his hands. You have not changed, he added with heavy condescension, easily piercing her defense and slamming at her chest with his palm. He came to regret it, as a sharp bone spike pierced both her cloth and his hand. You have grown stronger, my son, Kagaya answered, but so have I. He has no blood, Menma noticed, as Hamura casually vaporized the bone piercing his hand, the wound closing on its own. He raised his other palm at his mother, a silvery vortex manifesting and pushing her away. Meanwhile, Obito hadn't remained idle, gathering chakra into the shape of a small black sphere. Shibaku Tensai, he shouted at the top of his lungs before throwing it at full speed towards Hamura. The sage dodged it, without bothering to look at it, only for the sphere to go through a spatial rift and reappear right in front of his chest. This time, he wasn't fast enough to avoid the attack, and was caught in its powerful gravity. With what could pass for cold fury, he glared at Obito and pointed an index finger at him, projecting a beam of white chakra at him. Menma created a shadow clone in the path of the beam, intercepting it and giving Obito the split second needed to move out of the way. Debris and stones surrounded Hamura, crushing him. Kagaya quickly escaped the gravity well by opening a portal, and reappearing next to the other warriors. Thank you, Obito told Kagaya. He seemed a bit intimidated by her presence. Kazama's trick, Menma added. I guess him kicking your ass taught you a thing or two. Kagaya didn't dignify his quip with an answer. Instead, the white-haired woman looked upon the small moon with disgust, and a hint of concern. My son does not deserve this. Is he? Menma paused, as the moon began to shake before it could go through the clouds and escape the atmosphere. Of course he isn't down. A gigantic blade of golden chakra cut through the small moon, then divided it in half in a single, circular swing. Then, both halves were propelled at the ground, falling towards Konoha. And shit, Menma thought. Dust them, protect the village. He shouted, forming a great spiraling ring. Obito unleashed a massive fireball, both attacks combining into a single, larger projectile, while Kagaya released an expanding truth-seeking ball. Kagaya's sphere vaporized one half, Obito and Menma's combined attack the other, but from the dust filling the skies, a white projectile descended, as fast as an arrow. Hamura, his body nothing more than a human-shaped cloud of white chakra, closed the gap between his mother and him. Kagaya attempted to open a gate through space to escape, but was nowhere near fast enough. Hamura punched her through the chest, and she crashed against a ramen stand below. You destroyed the Ichirakus, Menma noted. Meh, I never liked that place anyway. Hamura ignored the quip and turned to face them. His eyes were shining. It wasn't a normal Byakugan, it was its evolved stage. I should have known the Sharingan wasn't the only overpowered dojutsu out there, Menma grumbled inwardly. Your whole body, Obito trailed. Now I see it clearly. You are like the tailed beasts. My chakra lingers after death, yes. My physical body may be gone, but my spirit endures. Hamura began to rotate on himself, projecting a shroud of white chakra around his body. 8 trigrams palms revolving hell. The storm of chakra expanded, its edge forming blades of chakra that cut through all directions in random, confusing ways. No wonder you've gone crazy, Menma replied, unimpressed, as he dodged the attacks, trying to escape the vacuum created by the attack, which dragged him towards the chakra sphere. Kagaya had no such fear. Reappearing through a portal, she grabbed her son's chakra stream head-on, absorbing it into her body. The Preta path, trying to eat me mother. As his chakra barrier fully collapsed, Hamura rose his hand, a good try, but futile. Hamura proceeded to backhand his mother with such savage strength as to cause her to bleed from her lips. Before she could recover, the sage wreathed his hands in chakra, forming 2 blades, and attempted to behead his own mother. Menma didn't let him, throwing blades of wind to run interference. Hamura turned to parry them with his hands, giving enough time for Kagaya to escape his vicinity. Trying to kill your own mother. I can respect that. More of a father killer myself. Menma formed a great spiraling ring and threw it at Hamura. Here's your Son of the Year award. Hamura simply raised his left palm, the projectile disintegrating upon contact. I'm boned, aren't I? Menma said. Before Hamura could respond, the air itself was torn asunder by a gigantic, mountain-sized rift through space. A golden Kyuubi was tossed through it, landing against the Hokage monument, and crashing against the Yondaimi's head. A gigantic Susanoo, purple and red, soon followed. It was a Tengu warrior more regal than Hamura's ever was. Carrying a katana of light, the entity promptly attempted to impale the tailed beast through the heart. The Kyuubi stopped the blade with one hand, grabbed the Sandame's head with the other, and smashed the Tengu warrior's head with it. Menma briefly noticed a woman atop the warrior, moving to avoid rocks as a shroud of chakra followed her around. Kazama, the rift probably being his doing, passed through the gate last, flying on streams of blue flames. The opening quickly closed behind him. He joined the Susanoo, bombarding the Kyuubi with a rain of azure fireballs. Hamura, after glancing at the situation, was set upon by Obito, who began to unleash fiery projectiles of his own at him. The sage nullified a few, but mostly stayed on the move to avoid being overwhelmed. Meanwhile, one of Menma's clones dispelled, granting him a rush of memories, of a battle almost too fast for human eyes to follow. Who taught you to fight? Mifune had asked, as the dark wolf deflected a vertical strike of his. My mentor. I see. The undead samurai easily parried one of her attacks, his sword moving like a swift snake. I would never have thought someone would complete the Shadow Dragon fighting style within my lifetime. I improved on your original design, she replied, Mifune-sensei. Very well. He pushed her back with a thrust of his blade. Let us see if the student can surpass the teacher. His movement had grown slower, but heavier, more powerful. Then, he followed with rapid thrusts and relentless power, sacrificing defense for offense. The Dark Wolf, instead, had adopted a defensive stance, and found herself pushed back by Mifune's relentless assault. 3 strikes from her enemy followed, each stronger and faster than the last. The first strike rent the steel of the Dark Wolf's main sword. The second ripped it. The third shattered it. Her very blade falling into pieces, the Dark Wolf retreated as fast as she could, fear breaking through her composed face. Mifune didn't pursue, instead raising his blade to the skies, and anchoring himself to the earth with his legs. The Dark Wolf regained her footing, and sent one last glance at Sasuke, who gave her a nod of confidence. "I believe in you," Menma could read on his face, "you can do it." With this surge of self-confidence, the Dark Wolf threw away her broken sword, and seized the remaining one with both her hands, just as Mifune did. She raised her sword, and prepared herself, her posture more offensive. Menma understood the following exchange would be the last. In a blink of an eye, they had exchanged places, their blades extended. They stood for a few seconds utterly still, their back turned on the other. "You cut my chakra," Mifune finally said, sounding oddly satisfied. "I was a better teacher than I thought." "You were," the swordswoman replied, her breathing cut, "I still missed your strike." The samurai shook his head, letting out a sigh of pure weariness and sadness, a lifetime of fighting crushing his shoulders. "Hime-sama, forgive me." The samurai's corpse collapsed on his knees, his arms still, the light leaving his eye sockets. The Dark Wolf fell on her chest, blood pouring through her armor. Sasuke, horrified, hurried to his friend's side. "Sakura," Menma's clone had shouted. "On it," the medic had replied, reappearing next to the Dark Wolf, pushing Sasuke back without care to examine her. The clone, now useless, had dispelled. Returning to reality, Menma focused back on Hamura. "You have seen what the warlord has done," Obito told him, as he bombarded the Otsutsuki, in vain, with fireballs, what the relays are for. I know what the warlord intends," Hamura replied, his sudden bursts of speed making him vanish in a blink, only to reappear far away. "I simply do not care." Thousands of small, pebble-sized truth-seeking balls materialized around Hamura, and exploded in all directions. Kagaya appeared before Menma and Obito, and opened a rift through space and time, letting the spheres through. While the trio was spared the destruction, the city wasn't so lucky. The remaining balls went on to continue their course, disintegrating most of the buildings beneath them, and vaporizing quite a few civilians while they were at it. Meanwhile, the Susanoo and the Kyuubi were continuing their battle, trampling houses beneath their feet. "I don't think the village is going to survive one monster, let alone 2 of them," Menma thought, upon watching the destruction going rampant through Konoha. "This is bad," he said as Hamura observed them from above, his gaze calculating, "He's crushing the 3 of us, at the same time, and he's making it look easy." "My son has always been disobedient," Kagaya replied, her tone as flat as Sakura's chest. "Ninshu," Obito replied, "he uses Ninshu to predict our movement, and the Byakugan to avoid them completely. I know for sure the latter has a secret blind spot, but the Ninshu probably covers it." "I've got a plan," Menma decided, "I'm going to distract him, and you're going to target the blind spot." "How?" Obito asked. "He has Ninshu, he will read." "Just trust me," the young shinobi replied, "you've got the Rinnegan, but getting on people's nerves is my superpower." "No wait, this is Sushida." But Menma was already at Hamura's throat. The sage easily dodged a Rasengan, and attempted to punch Menma's head off. A truth-seeking ball from his mother put an end to that, forcing him on the defensive. "Up for more, I see," Hamura said with contempt, sneering at Obito in particular, as the Uchiha circled around him. "You humans and your greed, you dare stand before me with my brother's stolen eye. How many of your kin did you kill to get your hands on it, I wonder? Your lust for power truly is abhorrent." "I sought the Rinnegan to protect the weak," Obito replied, remaining out of Hamura's range. "He didn't seem to like it, but he did obey. That is what they always say. Lies. In the end, humans always use their power for oppression and suffering." "Speak for yourself," Menma shouted back. "How many worlds did you help Tikoku devastate? You have more blood on your hands than all of us put together." Hamura frowned, and suddenly charged at Menma, unleashing a flurry of gentle fist strikes. Menma backed down, summoning shadow clones on the path to slow him down. "I have brought mankind the punishment it so richly deserved," Hamura spoke, trying to justify himself. "Who are you to decide who deserves a punishment or not?" Menma snapped back, as Kagaya once again created a rift through space and materialized behind her son. "I have overseen the world for 1,000 years, waiting for my brother's dream of peace to be achieved," Hamura replied, turning around to parry one of his mother's gentle fist blows. All I saw was war, pain, and suffering. I gave mankind their chance and waited, and they wasted it. So you just gave up? Menma growled. Instead of wallowing in your sadness on the moon, you could have simply lifted your ass and done something, anything about it. I have made mistakes, that much I will agree, Obito replied, as Hamura pushed his mother back, but I have learned from them, and decided to use my power for the good of others. You had ultimate power and you wasted it on doing nothing. You could have made the world a beautiful, bountiful place, and instead you choose to enslave and kill. You cannot blame us for not bringing your brother's dream to fruition, when you didn't do anything to fulfill it. You know nothing of the suffering of the world. His movements seemed a bit slower than before, less composed and secure. When the mind falters, so does the body. Menma knew how to win this round. Yes, we do, he said, and that is why you are furious at us. Because we did what you didn't, we tried. I watched the love of my life die before my eyes, Obito added. I lost my friends, my mentor that was a father to me, my country, my life, my world, and yet I didn't lose hope. You are the one who knows nothing of pain, Hamura. Hamura, Kagaya spoke softly, I coddled you too much. Silence, Hamura shouted, losing his composure for the first time in the entire fight. His chakra widened, expanded like a sphere, pushing back the fighters backward. Enough blabbering. You are simply children who understand nothing of the world around them. Oi, who's the one refusing to debate here? Menma taunted him. Hamura frowned. You are trying to make me falter. He pointed an index finger at him, and unleashed a beam of light. Once more, Kagaya opened a rift in space in front of Menma, shielding him. If it does, then it means we've got a point, haven't we? Menma continued to taunt him, nodding at Kagaya appreciatively. In the end, you're just a vengeful ghost lashing out at the living. You know what? Go to heaven, smoke a joint with your brother, and fuck off. Kagaya blinked darkly at the statement. We don't want you down here. We don't need you. Enough. Hamura's voice raised again, his eyes turning from bored to murderous. He opened both palms at Menma, unleashing a massive, silver typhoon. Enough of this. Menma and Kagaya quickly flew out of the way, the silver tornado raising an entire street beneath them, progressing through the ground to the point of exposing the sewers themselves. Wait, maybe that's why you try so hard not to die, Menma continued, with all the sins you accumulated, hanging out with your brother sounds way too generous in afterlife. Hey, maybe you're going to suck cocks in hell, what do you think? I mean, you do look like a girl, with your pretty eyes and shining hair. It certainly explains why the Hyuga look so effeminate. Enough. Hamura materialized 5 truth-seeking balls, then fused them into a sword of light, the same he had used to cut through the Chibaku Tensei. Moving at great speed, he aimed for Menma, but found his mother blocking his way. Imitating her son, Kagaya also summoned truth-seeking balls, but assembled them in the shape of a barrier protecting herself. Hamura promptly struck it, pushing his mother back with relentless attacks. My own clan members killed one another on the moon, Hamura trailed, his tone sorrowful. They fought, at that snake surging. Because of my vow, you didn't make a move, and you watched them die instead of, stopping it. Oh, poor boy, Menma trailed, his tone mocking and disdainful, as he skirted around Kagaya and Hamura both. Sorry if I don't shed a tear for you. I tried, Hamura said, but they didn't listen. Just like my brother's sons, that just says you were the worst father ever. Here's your other prize. Rasengan. With a powerful, final strike, Hamura forced his mother to back down, then skillfully avoided Menma's attack, and used his free hand to hit the young shinobi in the chest. This time, the gentle fist connected, and Menma felt his body grow cold. Losing control of his flight, he began to fall, while Hamura moved to impale him with his sword. Instead, Menma crossed a rift through space, and Kagaya caught him at the other end. The gate closed before Hamura could go through. You know what, I think you're projecting, Menma scoffed, trying to catch his breath as Kagaya lifted him with surprising strength. Hamura quickly located them, but made no move to intercept. I mean, saying everyone is guilty. It means your inaction was okay, that it was right, that you don't have to blame yourself. Menma glared at Hamura, who averted his eyes. Selfish man, how many died because you would not face your own guilt? Answer me, he shouted with all his might, coughing up blood in the process. Hamura didn't answer. Instead, his regal eyes seemed to falter a bit, as Menma's words began to take root in his mind. The sage glanced down, unaware, perhaps uncaring, of the small point of light thrown behind him. The sphere suddenly expanded, bathing all of Konoha with blinding light. Kagaya covered Menma's face with her hand, and the last thing he saw was Hamura closing his eyes. Ninigi no Makoto, Obito shouted gloriously. When the light died down, Kagaya let him see again, and moved a hand onto his chest. The pain vanished instantly. Obito stood victorious, his hands partly burned by the sheer heat of his own attack. Of Hamura, nothing remained. Not even ashes. My son was not defeated, Kagaya spoke, he let himself die. Well, if it was the case, it was a pretty thorough surrender. Menma looked at the spot where Hamura used to stand, then at Obito. You exorcised a ghost with the sun. It was simply a sphere of hydrogen and helium influm. No, Menma cut him off brashly, you threw the sun at him. Except no substitute. I think the two of us will get along just fine. I doubt that, Menma brushed off, glancing at the Kyuubi next. Izanami. Sustaining a Susanoo was not as easy as the Uchiha legends made it look. Especially since it wasn't hers, but the ghost's, floating behind her back, diverting her chakra for his purpose. Standing on the creature's shoulder, Izanami struggled to hang on, even with her feet adhering to the ethereal surface. Her boyfriend was flying around the Kyuubi, blinking in and out of existence, crossing portals in short succession. 1 second, he was above, then below, then within the monster's maw. The nine-tailed fox seemed annoyed by this, like an animal stung by a persistent wasp. The Susanoo raised his katana, and struck with enough absurd force to crush and split the Biju in half. Instead, the Kyuubi switched places with a nearby house, using the Shunshin to reappear at a respectable distance. The Kyuubi could do ninjutsu. The Kyuubi could do ninjutsu. This was the Sanbi all over again. Careful! Kazama shouted, Kushina. Kushina leapt from the Kyuubi and onto the Susanoo, clad in a golden shroud of chakra. With great speed and strength, she kicked a surprised Izanami in the chest, making her fall off the Susanoo. Instead of crashing on the ground below to her death, Indra's ghost grabbed her by the waist and pulled her back to the giant warrior. While his entire body was made of ethereal fire, the contact was painless, almost comforting. Kushina, unfortunately, quickly followed her. Carried by her own Shiranui, Black's vengeful ghost, she pointed her arrow at Izanami and fired a bolt. Indra moved her out of the way again, but Kushina quickly pursued her, firing shot after shot. Kazama prepared to intercept the twisted Jinchuriki, but Izanami didn't let him. She's mine, she said, destroy the Kyuubi. But, just go, Izanami ordered this time, this is personal. Kazama frowned, but left with a nod, unleashing a gigantic blue fireball at the Kyuubi. The Susanoo followed him, pursuing the Kyuubi as it tried to put distance between them, crushing houses beneath its paws and tails. Indra carried Izanami to the remains of the Hokage monument, most of the faces having been destroyed near the beginning of the fight, and landed on the Shodai's still intact visage. Kushina soon joined her, her feet gracefully touching the ground. Facing me alone, how brave, Kushina mocked her, her bow aimed at Izanami's head, you have always been arrogant. She fired another arrow, and Izanami let her Sharingan flare to life. It's a family curse, Izanami said, dodging one arrow, and then a second, and constantly remaining on the move. You aren't too shabby either, Kushi. How can you be so beautiful, even after all of this? She unleashed a Kaiden jutsu at her enemy, bathing the landscape with flames. Black's ghost moved in the way, his tentacles forming a shield. The flames crashed against him, unable to reach Kushina herself. Do not call me that, the Uzumaki princess growled, do not look at me with those eyes. Yes, that is the spirit, Black's Shiranui encouraged his reincarnation with gleeful cruelty, moving out of an arrow's way, that's my girl. Aim for the pretty face. Izanami didn't let herself be intimidated. Instead, after barely moving out of an arrow's way, she looked at Kushina dead in the eyes. Upon eye contact, Kushina's pupils dilated as the golden shroud surrounding her vanished into the ether. Her marked whiskers and claws, the signs of her sage maid, remained pronounced. Kurama's chakra. Kushina growled angrily, you dare. I was trained to control the Kyuubi, Izanami boasted softly, although I cannot control the tailed beast directly without the Mangekyo, I can prevent you from accessing its power. No matter, Kushina replied, materializing an arrow of blue chakra to fire at Izanami. I still have my Fox Sage mode, and 10 times your reserves. She had a point, unfortunately. Izanami was already strained maintaining Indra's Susanoo. Kushina on the other hand could keep fighting for days firing arrows before she collapsed out of exhaustion. My daughter from the far future, Indra spoke, his voice as soft and wise as an elder, open your mind to the past. Focus, and let my skills flow through you. Izanami did exactly that, and memories, as old as the shinobi history itself, saturated her mind. A sword of purple chakra materialized out of thin air, and she grabbed it with both hands, deflecting Kushina's latest arrow with it. We will fight as one, Indra declared, for we are links in the endless chain that binds us all. Just like your brother, Black taunted, oh, sorry. Too soon. Izanami and Indra, moving as one, both ignored him, and instead closed the gap between Uzumaki and Uchiha. Without the benefit of distance, Kushina let her bow of chakra disappear. In its place, she formed her own katana of chakra, as blue as the clearest sky. The ethereal blades locked with one another, an invisible force spreading through the air. Look at yourself, Kushi, Izanami said, as the Uzumaki princess held her ground, look at what you've become. What you made me. With her sage mode's increased strength, Kushina pushed the Uchiha back with a violent, sudden thrust. She then went on the offensive, moving with the grace of a dancer. I didn't. I loved you. Indra's skills flowed through her, her movements becoming fluid and elegant. She skirted around each strike. I still do. But it was not enough. Disgusting, Kushina glared, pushing her opponent back. This is the same chakra as that woman. This horrible glint, she too loved me, but love and hate are two sides of the same coin. You sold me, sent me to die. The first blood was Kushina's. Her blade grazed at Izanami's cheek, then her shoulder. In spite of the Sharingan, in spite of Indra's priceless knowledge, Izanami found herself on the defensive. Ever since that fox was sealed inside me, my life has been nothing but loneliness and suffering. Izanami leapt out of the way of a vertical sword strike. The chakra blade impacted on the ground with enough force to throw dust in all directions. You have no idea of what I have been through. I have suffered too, Izanami replied, You, Kushina cursed, her eyes red-rimmed with rage, it's always about you. She is an Uchiha, Black added, his voice venomous, they are a race that love themselves too much. Be silent, Snake, Indra declared, how many people died because of you? Less than you, Black mocked him, you truly are a model for generations to look up to. Quite literally, if memory serves. Indra's ghost flickered, gray with sorrow and regrets. Black exploited the opportunity, sending his tentacles to surround Izanami and hit her from behind. Indra reacted quickly, the ghost deflecting them away at the last moment. I will not seal you again, Kushina decided, almost beheading Izanami with her latest attack. I will simply kill you, then revive you with Edo Tensei as my eternal slave. A great idea, Black agreed, I suggest you force her to kill her boyfriend afterwards. What do you say? It would be so poetic, considering who she was in a previous life. My sins will never be forgiven, Indra responded, I was young and foolish, and cruel, and greedy. For power, for love. Vanity. I was vanity. You still are, Black said, launching a tentacle at the same time his reincarnation struck. Indra moved into the way of both, deflecting them and giving Izanami enough time to put some distance between them. How long have you and your brother fought to settle some ancient, pointless score? Centuries of warfare, just because you could not stand not being daddy's favorite. Black chuckled, then exploded into laughter. Kushina, instead of pursuing her assault, pointed her sword at Izanami, analyzing her. Your beloved father, my brother, took mother away from me as I was born, do you know that? Black added, since he and Hamura felt no regret at this, I made them feel my pain. I destroyed their children, their future. I made them cry. And I didn't have to do it myself. You were so eager to kill one another. You humans poison the earth and destroy yourselves out of your bottomless greed. A few words of encouragement are all that keep you away from slaughtering your own family. And no one should be bound by the sins and mistakes of their ancestors, Indra replied proudly, I stand proudly behind my descendant, whatever she choose. Makoto Uchiha, my sword is yours to command. Stand by your convictions. Izanami nodded, panting and struggling to breath. Convictions. Kushina sneered. All she cares about is herself and her urges. Would you even love Kazama-san, if he did not have my face? That is wrong, she shouted back, although the words had hit a nerve. I love him because he accepted me as I am. Lies. You lied to him since the moment you met, about everything. Kushina smirked cruelly. You abandoned your own son, left him alone. Izanami didn't know what hurt more, her attacks, or her words. Raising a free hand, Kushina unleashed a senjutsu blast, pushing Izanami to the very edge of the monument. I never, Izanami paused. Could have Hamura. No, she can read my mind. And my brother said Ninshu could only be used for peaceful purposes, Indra said, unleashing a pulse of energy, no more. A thin layer of chakra began to spread over Izanami's skin, as she blocked Kushina's latest sword strike, almost falling from the edge of the monument, and then skillfully skirted around her. Then, she thrust her blade forward, surprising Kushina and getting past her defenses. Her blade grazed the woman's shoulder, causing her to back down. How can you? Kushina growled. That bastard, your old incarnation is shrouding your chakra. You cannot predict my moves anymore, isn't that right? Izanami said, her Sharingan spinning, while your future is clear as day to me. The only thing I see is your death, Uchiha, Black replied, expanding his shadowy tentacles at her direction, only for Indra to grab them, and pull the ghost in his direction. Before Black could retaliate, Indra's hand seized his throat and smashed the ghost against the ground. Kushina, enraged, took a step forward, moving almost too fast for eyes to follow, but not for the Sharingan. Izanami parried the strike, then disarmed her with an attack of her own. The chakra blade went to fly, dispersing into nothingness. Give up, Kushi, Izanami said, pointing her sword at the Uzumaki's throat. This is over. You are good, but you are a student, while I am a master. So what? She replied, her eyes savage and defiant. Get on with it. It doesn't have to end like this, Izanami shouted, before calming herself. Even after everything you did, do not make me kill you. This only seemed to amuse the red woman. If she was afraid of death, she didn't show it. And you are the one telling me you are different from the other Makoto. She taunted Izanami, you cannot see past your own prejudice and see the person I am. You're pathetic. She stepped forward, putting her throat against the very edge of Izanami's sword. Do not tempt me, the Uchiha replied, her hold hesitant. Or what? Her smile was smug and triumphant. You live in the past, red eyes. Even now, after all I have done, you still do not have the courage to face the inevitable. All you can do is run away from it. Izanami bit her lower lip. Get back. Prove me wrong. Push that sword through my neck, finish me off. The shadow of a giant fox was cast over the monument, and Izanami instinctively glanced at it. That split second of inattention was all that the Uzumaki needed. Her fingers connected with Izanami's chest, and a burning sensation of pain spread through her body, causing her to cough out blood. Kushina soon hit her again in the chest, then the shoulder, her claws shredding her soft flesh apart. Seizing the head of Indra's Susanoo warrior, the Kyuubi smashed it against the monument, causing it to tremble. Then, the Kyuubi punched the Susanoo through the face, smashing it. The same sensation reverberated through Izanami's body, bringing her to her knees. She had to hold on her chakra blade not to collapse entirely, as the Susanoo exploded into 1,000 pieces. Indra, too, was shaken by the pain, allowing Black to escape his grasp. Grabbing the other ghost by each limb with his tentacles, Black quickly immobilized him. You are so tight, Black Zetsu taunted, you Uchiha are all so prude. Pathetic, Kushina noted, as the Kyuubi overshadowed all of them. Kurama, eat her whole. The tailed beast opened its maw. And a fireball burned its left eye. The monster let out a roar of pain, as a giant, spiraling orb impacted on the back of its skull, making it collapse. Kazama once again attacked, and this time he wasn't alone. A double of his, with black hair, flew by his sides, alongside a woman in white and a third person too far away to identify. How did they? Kushina flinched. Mifune, what did you do to me? Izanami tightened her hold on her chakra blade with her hand, rose, and stuck as fast as she could. The next thing she knew, her sword had impaled Kushina through the stomach. Kushina's eyes widened in astonishment, as her fine clothes were suddenly splashed with her own blood. Izanami felt tears fall from her eyes, her hand trembling. Indra, tapping into Izanami's last bits of chakra, unleashed a purple pulse around him, pushing back Black Zetsu's tentacles. You little runt. Black shouted with venomous anger, joining his hands together. Moku. Indra didn't let him finish. Seizing both of Black's shoulders, he tore the ghost in half with sheer strength, both halves falling into pieces. The malevolent specter divided into two blots of darkness, disintegrating while his reincarnation began to hold her head between her bloodied hands, screaming. The destruction of her Shiranui seemed to be an unpleasant experience. "This is not over, not even close," Black declared vengefully, before vanishing into the ether. "As long as there is strife, my hatred will endure, even beyond death, I will return, forevermore. And as the person to deny you, I will be there waiting," Indra replied calmly. You hit me," Kushina panted, her face drained of colors from the shock as she struggled to prevent blood from pouring out of her gaping wound. "You struck me," she repeated, stumbling backward. Now crying, Izanami glared at her opponent. "I didn't want to do this, Kushina," she declared. "I loved you." All Kushina did was to glare at her with disgust. "I will not give you the right to kill me. A princess must die with honor." She raised her left, bloodied hand to her neck. "Mifune, my truest friend." Then, before Izanami could make a move, Kushina had stabbed her own carotid with her claws, tearing out her own throat. The Sharingan memorized the sight, burning it into her brain, immortalizing every single detail as the bloodied Tikoku member fell to her back, dead. Izanami couldn't move, paralyzed by the sight. "It had to be done," Indra said with sorrow, although she didn't have the strength to answer. She almost didn't pay attention to the Kyuubi, who had now began to clutch its chest. "If I cannot win, then I shall not lose either. Die with me, humans." The monster joined its paws, in a parody of a hand sign. Its body bloated, shimmering with power. Izanami simply collapsed to her knees, drained. She didn't have any chakra left to manifest Indra's Susanoo, and the ghost itself was already flickering in and out of existence. "Wait, it's a suicide technique," someone shouted, his voice vaguely familiar. "He's going to blow himself up." "The average Junin can blow a district with this one, imagine what a tailed beast can destroy with it." Another voice added, deeper, adult. "He's going to annihilate all of the land of fire if he succeeds. Then vaporize it." The other voice shouted back. "I don't have enough chakra left for the Chibaku Tensai, nor my Ninigi no Makoto." "Everyone, back down," Kazama shouted. From her place, Izanami glimpsed at his hands moving into a hand sign. "Suetsu." The Kyuubi vanished instantly. Izanami didn't care. "What happened?" the deep voice asked. "I banished him to another dimension," the white-haired woman said, as if this was obvious. "I drowned him in acid." That woman sounded so eerily calm and serene, she almost made it sound like an easy feat. "Grandmother," she heard Indra whisper in awe. Izanami's eyes were set on Kushina's bloodied corpse, even as Kazama landed next to her. He said. She glanced at him, the life drained out of her. Kazama lowered himself, and hugged her as tight as humanly possible. He didn't say anything, and Izanami was thankful for it. She closed her eyes, returned the gesture, and the horrific image was banished from her mind. "It's all right," Kazama whispered, "I'm here." "Yes," she replied, opening her eyes again and breaking off their embrace. "I need to go," he said, grimly. "There is one last problem I have to solve." "Can you wait for me?" She smiled sadly. "Don't take long, all right." He nodded, giving her his best smile. "I will return," he said, opening a portal. He kissed her on the lips, almost furtively, and then vanished through it. She watched the portal close with a smile, while Indra dissipated into the ether, his arms crossed and oddly satisfied. Naruto. Most of Kiri was a smoking ruin, the streets red with blood. The sky was just as red and ripped in half. A blue planet was falling from the other side, slow, yet inevitable. The palace had been almost razed to the ground, every single one of its walls broken, every brick overturned. The remains of ice mirrors and fountains of lava laid in disarray all around them. Mei laid dead, a gaping hole where the chest should have been. And her killer was standing above Naruto herself, unscathed. He hadn't spoken a word in the entire slaughter, his eyes burning with primal, burning fury. Naruto herself laid at his feet, broken and defeated. "Girl," Spiral whispered. He had surrounded her, shielded all of her body except for the now exposed head. "Naruto, come on, hang on, the others are going to come back anytime." "I don't think so," the warlord spoke, his voice deep and boiling with subdued rage. There was no amusement in his voice, no cruel joke to be heard. Just hatred. Naruto managed to raise her head and looked at him straight in the eyes. The warlord narrowed his eyelids, raised his left foot, and kicked her in the side, cutting her breath. "Stop smiling," he ordered, irritated. Even with all the blood in her mouth, even if it felt painful, she widened her lips. It didn't amuse him at all. He grabbed her by the throat with his left hand, and raised her above the ground as easily as one would do with a dead bunny. "Stop smiling," he snarled, grounding his teeth. "You're just a spoiled brat." Then, for good measure, she spat her blood at his face. The blood dropped down his cheek. The warlord inhaled deeply, seized her neck with both hands, and slowly started to tighten his grasp. "I could break your neck," he said, "but I think I am going to choke you to death, slowly, Intima." The kusanagi cut through his heart from behind. The warlord's face went blank, while Naruto's smile grew triumphant. The sword rose through his chest, gutting him like a fish. "I am going to kill you," Kazama said, his tone cold as a glacier, standing right behind the warlord as a portal closed. "Wherever you are in this multiverse, no matter remote the corner, there is no place where you will be able to hide from my wrath." The warlord's shadow clone smiled cruelly, then laughed deeply, before vanishing into smoke. Naruto fell from the ground, but Kazama tossed his sword away and caught her before she hit the ground. "Sensei," she couldn't help but gasp a little. "Blood. You're back." He nodded and smiled kindly, raised a hand towards the sky. The rift through it that showed the falling planet began to narrow, slowly, but noticeably. "It's all right," he said, holding her with great care. "This time, I will never let you go, sister. I will not let anyone close to me go." Thanks Third Fang and a bitter pill for baiting, and my readers for their patience. For those. Chapter 59. The Final Enemy. I call it World Prime. Chibaku could almost feel the tension in the room, as Kabuto continued his lecture. A screen projected the image of a blue sphere, with a large continent. It was a beautiful sight to behold. If we follow the theory all worlds come into existence by splintering from one another, then, obviously, there's one that started it all. This is World Prime. Unlike any other world, it is not linked to one multiverse in particular, but all of them. It is the template, the very origin from which all others, from all multiverses, descend. Quite staggering, don't you think? And you think the warlord will try to destroy it? Karasu asked. Destroying core timelines. I've heard of people trying to do that every now and then. Some guys just can't handle not being the original, and take it to extreme levels. Inari mused, recalling some stories from his multiverse. Oh, no. Quite the contrary, I believe he intends to destroy every world except this one. The room erupted in murmurs and whispers. Chibaku remained silent, although his heart did skip a beat. Everyone, calm down, Yugito spoke, bringing back silence. Continue. Atlas touched a button on the screen, the image changing to a tall tower of steel, the very relays Tikoku built on an industrial scale. The relays work by creating a resonance between two worlds, the sniper said, which is easier when these worlds have things in common. Namely, us. Thanks to an intentional design flaw, Warlord can overcharge them to destroy the frontier between worlds, and setting them on a crash course with one another. The Shiva ninjutsu. Kabuto chuckled darkly. A most spectacular event, you will agree. Chibaku doubted many shared his point of view. Anyway, Kabuto continued, oblivious to, or perhaps inwardly amused by, the heavy silence of his listeners. Tikoku has built hundreds of them across the multiverse, which he can remotely activate at the same time with his ring. So in other words, this is partially your fault, Yugito seethed. How many did you build? Do you take us for genin? The case cage, Tamari, cleared her throat. Kabuto and I sabotaged the relays we were asked to build, since we suspected foul play on the warlord's part. I cannot say the same for the others, however. I doubt it will prevent the resonance, but it will slow it down, Atlas said. Considering his abilities and resources, the warlord has probably created most of them himself. Think of it as a domino effect. The warlord will send the pulse from World Prime, which will activate a series of relays. The screen changed, showing a reaction of spheres hitting one another. Then, when the collision happens, other relays will automatically activate, opening new gates, and creating a chain reaction of destruction. Which is only the start of our problems, Atlas said. The energy unleashed grows exponentially with each collision. After enough of them go off in quick succession, the energy released will be enough to break dimensional barriers on its own. In short, the reaction will become self-sustaining, and no longer needing relays to work. It will keep going on, and on. And the resonance effect will keep targeting any world that even remotely looks like ours, Kabuto finished. In time, it will gain enough strength to affect all universes that have any link to us to a degree. Taking into account a margin of error, the possibility of relays not functioning, I have calculated that around 70 to 90% of all worlds, everywhere, will be destroyed or damaged. It took a time for Chibaku to grasp the enormity of the horror soon to be unleashed on them. The sheer body count was simply impossible to calculate. That's impossible, all worlds. He heard people mutter all around him. If the resonance keeps going on for long enough, Atlas trailed off. Yes, even your world will be affected. If that Kazama of yours could reach it by himself, it is not that unreasonable to think the devastation will touch it as well. Can your protectors? Karasu's tone was heavy with sarcasm as he turned to Inari, help. Inari had been one of the few that remained quiet during the explanation, yet he answered with a bitter laugh. Of course, stupid question, Karasu said, what about our gods? They did move. To kill Kazama, Chibaku replied, but as far as I know, they didn't touch the relays. Kazama stole their power, Inari pointed out, stressing every word. Of course they would act, he had fallen under their jurisdiction. But this is all a mortal's doing, this is our problem. I watched two gods intervene among us, at different times. Yugito cleared her throat, they did more harm than good. I'm afraid he's right, we really are on our own. Chibaku shook his head, trying to find solutions. They were facing a potential apocalypse, and no one would help. Is there any place that's guaranteed to be safe, anywhere? Haku asked, beyond horrified at how quickly the situation was devolving. 1, Atlas replied, only World Prime will be spared, due to being outside the chain. Which is where the warlord will weather the storm safely. Of course, I estimate the chances of him wiping out the local population in the coming years around 60%. But by then, it wouldn't be our problem anymore, would it? Kabuto said, his tone joking. That egotistical bastard, Karasu cursed. He isn't destroying the multiverse. He's destroying us. He wants to be the only Naruto Uzumaki, period. He will destroy our template next, or at least try to. Chibaku finished his friend's line of thoughts. How do we stop him? We ambush him on World Prime, before he can pull off his plan, a Tsunade among the assembly suggested. I doubt it will be enough, Tsunade-san, Orochimaru replied. Launching the chain reaction will be instantaneous, and once started, it will not need the warlord to run its course. Kabuto, Fukuro and I established that for the reaction to progress, it needs specific relays, Atlas explained, the first links of the chain to be exact. They open the first gates, before the reaction becomes self-sustaining. If we destroy them, we disturb the network and stagger the process enough that the momentum won't gather. Of course, these relays will probably be guarded by clones, Kabuto added, but if we do succeed in overwhelming them and destroying their weapons, we can stop the reaction in its early stage. Although, the worlds where the rifts have already been opened will be doomed, but the destruction won't spread. A few dozen worlds lost, against millions of them. However, if we miss the original warlord, Atlas said, not only will World Prime be in danger, and I cannot stress how terrible it would be, but he will try again, and as we've discussed, he can recover from his losses easily enough. We can't. And there is the matter of Kushina and Menma to take into the equation, Tamari added. Both may side with the warlord, or be misguided by him. This may not be a war on one front, but with enough teamwork and organization. Before we get ahead of ourselves, I have to let you know that we lack the manpower to deal with all these enemies at once, Kakuzu pointed out gruffly, unless maybe if we use Edo Tensei to boost our ranks with legendary shinobi. We've got a few prisoners who don't do anything but drain taxes. I have some pricey genetic material, Kabuto said with a giggle. Of course, my trump card is currently unavailable, thanks to your generous opposition, but I have kept a few aces up my sleeve. Nobody raised an objection, not even on a moral ground. Chibaku knew the situation was terrible, when a kinjutsu such as Edo Tensei became a valid option. Where are these key relays? Yugito asked, more calm than the rest. That's the thing, Atlas said grimly, we can't locate all of them. You can't. We're not wizards alright. Atlas snapped back, surprising even Chibaku. The ninja had always seemed cool under pressure. We can make theories, but there are literally countless worlds out there. Even with Fukuro's maps, there are many places where they could hide. I can help with that. Chibaku's heart skipped a beat, as a rift opened through space. Kazama crossed first, Clad in white, a large troop followed him. Chibaku recognized most of them, with a few exceptions. A strange Uchiha, with both a Sharingan and a Rinnegan, a Naruto with black hair, doing his best to stay as far away from the previous as possible, a new Sakura, and a woman all in white radiating an oppressive power. Finally, Itachi wearing Hokage robes, concluded the march. They were all battered, their clothes tattered, but they all had a determined look on their face. Chibaku didn't bother to hide his joy. Boss. Flat chest. Naruko forced herself to smile, obviously too tired to counter his insult. The puppeteer was slightly disappointed. She was wearing some kind of white, flashy, thing over most of her body but the head. Naruko-san. Haku immediately went to hug her, the two girls smiling at one another. Kitsune did the same, but remained a bit far away. Welcome back, Yugito told them, a bit more serious than her cohorts. Sup Kaz. Like the new look. Inari nodded. The younger ninja watched the older one with newfound respect, as if he had noticed an invisible change only he could perceive. What happened to Mei? Kabuto asked calmly. Dead, Naruko replied, the warlord killed her. Oh, too bad. If Kabuto was sad, he clearly didn't show it. The cage, Tamari, frowned behind her veil, slightly disturbed. A second later, she collected herself, her eyes ice cold. Wait, you knew where they were. Yugito couldn't hide a frown. And you didn't tell us. Kabuto simply smiled ear to ear. Chibaku silently promised himself to make a puppet out of him, once the war was over. Thank you, Kazama replied, before clearing out his throat. Everyone, I am Kazama Arashi. I am sure you have heard of me by now, for good or ill. I've never been good at introductions, but what I can say is that, I have the means to help. I have a powerful ninjutsu, Satori, that can allow me to glimpse through the multiverse. I can use it to pinpoint the warlord's relays. Is that even possible? Atlas sounded flabbergasted, much like many other people in the room. It is. Once I do, I suggest we divide ourselves into groups and attack them en masse. The warlord's clones are strong, but we have the numbers, variety and teamwork on our side. I think large teams can overwhelm them, or at least destroy the relays before they are wiped out. One last group will go on to confront the original on World Prime the second he lands on it, and ensures he dies there. The white-haired woman, who had remained silent so far, noticed Karasu. She waved her left hand at him, shining with chakra. And then Karasu's eyes regrew. Chibaku watched the scene, utterly paralyzed. Karasu twitched a little, just as surprised, and then, much to everyone's astonishment, he rose out of his wheelchair. Karasu walked a few steps, then stared straight into the woman's eyes. How did you do that? I am a goddess, the woman said, as if it explained everything. She even sounded like she believed it. It took me 3 months to fully regenerate my left eye from scratch and she brings his back in 3 seconds. Inari tried not to pout childishly and failed miserably. Show off. This is my friend, Kagaya, Kazama presented the white woman with a wave of his hand. The woman looked dignified, but didn't bother to bow or present herself. In fact, she seemed completely oblivious to the assistance. She can help us open paths to other worlds, and most importantly, help repair the damage the relays inflict. If we destroy them quickly, she will be able to close the rifts before a world can pass through. Chibaku had to admit, the boss had grown into his own. He had instantly captivated the room, giving out instructions, as if expecting them to follow his words, and they looked ready to. There was a certain calm charisma and experience about him. Almost Madara-like. Your original plan was to limit the destruction to a few dozen worlds. I say we can protect them all. The warlord isn't making war on us. He's making war on life itself. Are we letting him get away with it? Kazama raised his fist. I don't think so. Let's show him that no matter his power, together, we can overcome anything. The crowd erupted into shouts and cheers. Kazama. Ashes were all that remained. Kazama had designed the Marabito to destroy anything he used it on, trading practicality for sheer power. It had vaporized mountains, tailed beasts' hosts, and proved its potential repeatedly. Konoha had been no exception. The gray and black crater that remained was a monument to his wrath, and to the lengths he had been willing to go for revenge. The deadly silence, the howling winds, he stood among the dead, surrounded by ghosts. When he heard steps, he wondered if he might have misjudged himself. Kazama looked to the side, even if he felt no killing intent. Sakura. His former teammate was carrying flowers, white bouquets in her arms. Her visage was pale, as if she had seen death. Maybe she wasn't far from the truth. "You've come to bring flowers?" Kazama asked her. "For the dead?" "Yes," she replied. "Are you alone? Where are the others?" Sakura didn't answer. "That's all right," the ninja said. "I understand you would rather avoid telling the man who burned your home." "Is Kakashi well?" Still no answer. "I see. He deserved it. I'm not here to fight. I'm tired of killing." He waited for her to respond, but when she didn't, standing still like a statue, her eyes undecipherable, he couldn't help but keep talking. "I've visited the land of waves. Not this land of waves. Another." Kazama cleared his throat. It would be too complicated to explain, but it was a ruin even worse than this one. What happened there? It was the first sign things had started to go wrong in the path I had chosen. It only got worse from there. Konoha was just the culmination of everything. Sakura finally broke her own silence. "Why did you come back?" Her tone wasn't judging or condemning. It was simply sad. If anything, that made it worse. Kazama crossed his arms. "I think I needed to remind myself what happens when I use my power selfishly." He let out a long sigh, reminiscing the past. The good old days. Except they weren't that old, or good for that matter. Hokage, it was a selfish brat's dream. I wanted recognition, glory, attention. To be a leader, a hero, and beyond that. Another me, somewhere, understood that lesson before it was too late. I didn't. But you know, I've been asking myself, is there a point when it's really too late to turn back? Is there really a crime that marks you as irredeemable? I've seen terrible people turn their lives around. Some of them are even on my team. Is it an act that makes one irredeemable, or the refusal to turn back? Is it too late for me? Sakura appraised his words, and soon gave her answer. "I can forgive you," she said. "It will be hard, but I will try. I understand what led you to do this. But I can't forget. You shouldn't. Neither should the others. I fully deserve your scorn and rejection. The mere fact you found the strength to forgive me means you're a better person than I will ever be." She forced herself to smile. "I've done many things I am not proud about. I've failed to protect many people, because I didn't have the fortitude, or because I didn't care. But this ends here and now. I'm going to make it up to everyone. I don't know how, but I will find a way. That's my nindo now, and I will fulfill it. You'll see. Now, you're talking like yourself again." Kazama returned her sad smile. "Naruto Uzumaki is dead. I lost the right to call myself that long before my rampage. But it doesn't mean Kazama Arashi has to forget where he came from. He has learned his lessons." He glanced at the spot where the Hokage monument used to stand. "Sasuke." Sakura's head perked up at his words. "I don't think he will come back here. But I know he misses you." Sakura gave him a bouquet, gently and carefully, as if he was a ghost that would vanish if she was too careless. "Don't die," she warned him, "either of you." He didn't make any promises. As he left, Kazama activated his Satori, tracing Izanami's signature. The world slowed down around him as his mind peeked into an alternate reality. He saw her on the top of a skyscraper, one of the few that Tikoku's attack on the Alliance's HQ hadn't destroyed. She had exchanged her ragged clothes for a black Anbu uniform, probably provided by Atlas. He had hoped to find her alone, but surprisingly, she was exchanging words with Kagaya. Instead of the jealousy crisis he had expected, both women seemed civil to one another. "There's not a day where I don't think about him," Izanami told Kagaya. "I miss my little Itachi." "You could have taken him back by force," Kagaya replied evenly. "I can help. Itachi, I killed his father, whom he loved. He will remember it every time he sees me, and no jutsu will ever change that. No, it's better I disappear. You are afraid, not for him, but for yourself." Izanami smiled, although there was no joy in it. "Yes, I suppose running away won't help. I killed my own son," Kagaya said suddenly, with no warning. Although little emotion showed on her face, Kagaya's tone was clearly devastated. Her eyes were hollow. Kazama could look into them and see nothing but crushing sadness behind. "I killed my son." Kagaya glanced at the horizon. At the debris and fallen towers. "I was never the parent he needed. I see that now." Izanami looked at her sympathetically. "You can cry, if you want to. It won't demean you." Kagaya did not answer. "I can see you are a very sensible person, deep down inside." But you're constantly wearing a mask, trying to appear cool and imperturbable. Why? Who is it that scared you enough that you felt you had to forget how to cry? My clan, Kagaya replied, with an undercurrent of genuine fear. I suppose that's another thing we've got in common. Izanami put a hand on Kagaya's shoulder. The ancient princess bristled a bit, but let her do it. But I've come to realize that by wearing a mask, I'm bending to their will. So I decided to be myself in all things, to show the Uchiha and their laws that they have no power over me. Kagaya let the words sink in, remained as silent and still as a statue. Then, tears formed on both of her eyes, and slowly ran down her cheeks. Her expression did not change. It is not too late for you and your son, Kagaya told Izanami. Try, while you still can. Or you will regret it forever. It was Izanami's turn to remain speechless. I want to try again, Kagaya admitted, once her tears had fallen to the ground, to make it right. It won't erase the past, Izanami replied sadly. I'm certain you will find someone again, but don't try to change what happened, try to change yourself first. Everything I knew is gone, Kagaya said. Her tone had become more emotional, sadder and more melancholic. I can start again from scratch, but only because I have been reduced to such a state. The princess slowly raised her eyes. Not looking at the sky, but at Kazama himself peering through space. You can come out now. He opened a rift through dimensions and stepped through, appearing right behind both women. While Kagaya's face remained stoical, Izanami beamed. Hi there, handsome. Kazama smiled back. I see you two are getting along. Good. I admit I find her appealing, Kagaya spoke factually. I see now why you chose her. Come and try me, my princess, Izanami whispered into Kagaya's ears. Once I'm done, you won't ever desire a man again. I will make you my pet bunny. And then, for good measure, she sensually licked Kagaya's left ear. Kagaya stood there, motionless, as if she had suffered a stroke. Kazama realized no one had ever been so crass with her in her entire life. Kagaya's pale face became red, her eyes widened, and then she opened a portal and crossed it, completely unable to offer any reaction. She's so cute when she's embarrassed, Izanami giggled. The sad thing is, Kazama told her, before putting his arms around her waist, if I had never met you, I might have given her a chance. You can still, she teased him, we could take her together. Kazama had grown used to her teasing, but he could feel the heart wasn't there. What is it? Izanami let out a long, sad sigh. During my fight with Kushina, things were said. I like girls. I like boys. I like beautiful people. I know. But, I've been thinking a lot about us, Izanami replied. I'm really not the best person for you. I'm a selfish woman who screwed up for most of her life, who pushed her desires onto you. I know, the ninja replied. I don't care. And I love you for it. What I mean to say is, even if I'm not the best girlfriend you could end up with, I swear I'm going to make it work. Us. From now on, it's not going to be you and I, but us. Us. Kazama let the word ring in his head. There is something I wanted to ask you, he said, worrying about her answer. Have you ever considered marriage? No. He felt his heart crumble, until she beamed. No, I don't want to take our relationship for granted just because we exchanged vows. I want to work every day of the week to make it worth it. I want to make you stay with me. Because, you know, she seemed embarrassed. I'm so bad at words. You don't have to speak. What? He kissed her on the lips before she could finish. She put her arms around her neck, and pulled him closer. His fingers touched her soft hair, and he knew she just had to make a move, and he wouldn't stop there. He settled on breaking the embrace, a blush spreading across Izanami's face. He found it adorable. I love you, Kazama said, and I won't let anything separate us again. Izanami smiled. We still have a little time ahead of us, she said, her voice full of promises. Funny way you have, to talk to me this close. Maybe we should try closer. Naruto. The city's park was in the same shape as the rest of the city, a smoking ruin. Whatever few trees were still standing had been seriously damaged. Blades still littered the ground, near the remains of a relay buried beneath her feet. I think that's where Haku-san fought Madara, Naruto mused. She still remembered the Land of Waves, the catastrophic battle against Amaterasu and its disastrous consequences. They had been so utterly crushed, the humiliation, the fear, the shame, had remained within her for so long. They had chosen to run, instead of fight. The gap had been wide. And through so much pain, and so many ordeals, they had closed it. Madara was dead, while they lived. In spite of her own weakness, she had endured. I can sense this world's diminished natural energy, Spiral said. How can they live in cities made of concrete? It's so ugly. Natural energy. Naruto remembered their battles with Red Zetsu. Isn't it what powers Sage Mode? Yes, why are you? Spiral paused. Oh. Could it be done? Right here and now? Nope, there isn't enough left from this planet. But I've got the power of the Tree of Life, so I could pull it off without needing local senjutsu. Unlike Red, I don't have to create millions of clones. I can blow all my load. This one was intentional. No Toby to taunt makes Spiral a very unhappy plant. Amazing. Naruto froze, as she heard Sasuke's voice. She glanced around, and found him beneath one of the few remaining trees, sitting next to the dark wolf. They hadn't noticed her, and she became quiet. Sasuke's eyes, formerly white, were now red and swirling. Can see again, perfectly. Maybe better than before, he said. How did she do that? The dark wolf snorted. Chakra. I am not the best person to ask. She examined a sword Naruto had never seen her with. It was long, ancient, and heavy. Sorry, Sasuke excused himself sheepishly. Will it replace your broken sword? The dark wolf nodded. The sword Mifune-sama broke was Muramasa, the sword of killing, she said. The sword that defeated him was Masamune, the sword of protection. I used to put all my strength in the first, and keep the other as a secondary weapon. You put all efforts into killing, and little into protecting. I had nothing to protect. This was the source of my strength once. The dark wolf smiled thinly. I have found another. Sasuke returned the smile, and Naruto had to restrain herself from revealing her location with a cheer. As Mifune protected his charge even beyond death, I too, will protect those who are dear to me, the dark wolf vowed. The Arashi clan, who gave me purpose. Kazama-san, who gave me direction, and you, Uchiha-san. You can call me Sasuke, he replied. Come to think of it, I don't know your real name. You know it already. The Dark Wolf. This is the title I chose for myself. I want none other. It's a war name. Yes. The Dark Wolf's eyes turned sad. For as long as I can remember, my life and war have been one and the same. I only knew peace with my master, and it was a long time ago. The Uchiha nodded to himself. I understand your feelings. I had been pursuing my revenge for so long. When I finally achieved it, I came to realize I had wasted my best years on a pointless quest. I did not waste my life, the Dark Wolf replied. I simply wonder, if we defeat the warlord, what battles will be left to fight? Rebuilding, Sasuke said, the hardest battle. Yes, perhaps I will take a peace name once my duty to our world is fulfilled. The Dark Wolf sheathed her blade, and sat in a lotus position, as if contemplating her life choices. And you, Sasuke-san? What will you do? I always had two objectives, killing my brother, and rebuilding my clan. The first goal, I fulfilled. Rebuilding your clan, a very interesting thought. The Dark Wolf's voice remained as cold as ever, but Naruto could sense some apprehension in it. A clan cannot be rebuilt alone. Have you given thought about whom? I have. Oh, Spiral struggled to remain quiet. The Dark Wolf remained silent, although a flash of hope passed in her eyes. You are powerful, brave, determined, Sasuke said. You are a great warrior, one of the strongest I have ever seen, even better than me. He took her hands, causing the Dark Wolf to blanch. Sasuke looked at her dead in the eyes, and then said, will you help me rebuild my clan? The Dark Wolf's eyes bulged out, as if Sasuke had just asked her out. Naruto had the feeling she had missed something. I'm sorry, Sasuke suddenly excused himself, seemingly embarrassed. If I sullied your hun. Yes. Sasuke closed his mouth, the Dark Wolf's expressionless face giving away a thin, subtle smile. Naruto had never found her as beautiful as now. You are a courageous warrior, Sasuke-san, she said. I used to believe shinobi were deceitful lot, but you have proved yourself to me many times over. Sasuke beamed in happiness. But I must admit I am not familiar with, she didn't finish her sentence, too embarrassed to. Me neither. Sasuke admitted sheepishly. It's alright. We can take it slow. Can you stay with me for now? I find your presence appeasing. Sasuke nodded gently, and then cleared his throat. Naruto-san, you do remember I am a trained censor. A blush spreading across her face, the young kunoichi immediately left them alone. It's better when someone is watching, trust me. Spiral shouted, as she ran away. Naruko felt like throwing up. She didn't get far before space bent nearby, Kazama and Izanami materializing soon afterward. The latter was arranging her hair, the former pale as if he had exhausted himself. Hi, he told Naruko, glancing at Spiral with a wary look. I see you've made a friend. I didn't know you could wear plants, Izanami added with a smile, then again, I owe my life to one. Sensei. Naruko smirked. Spiral's a drag, but he's nice. I don't need him to survive anymore, but we make a nice team, when I can stand him. Look who's talking. The plant replied. I don't hypnotize people with the sound of my bowels. Kazama smiled, although he clearly hadn't understood Spiral's point, then again, neither did Naruko. I want to thank you for helping my friend, he told the creature, I'm just a bit unused to your presence but I'm sure we'll get along well. You remind me a bit of Toby, Spiral trailed off. Humans, he added, as if it explained everything. Izanami put a hand on her mouth, clearly amused. What? Kazama asked her. Your shirt is on backwards. A light blush spread across Kazama's face. Naruko couldn't help but cringe, as the reality hit her like a brick wall. You played bird and bees, she accused them, disgusted. Ew. Spiral's loud chuckles did nothing to help. I swear I'm going to have a serious talk with whoever taught you about that so early, Kazama vowed. Honestly, it's a bit strange, Izanami said, a large smile spreading across her face. You've got no problem stabbing someone with a kunai. It's the same, except done properly. Stop talking. Naruko replied, mortified by the image conjured in her mind. Stop teasing her, I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry, it's just, Naruko stuck out her tongue in a masterful display of maturity. Ew. Naruko-chan, I know my relationship with your brother figure may be a bit displeasing, but I want you to know I'm not going to take him away from you. Izanami bent a little, putting both her hands on Naruko's shoulders. We don't know each other very well, but I want you to know, I really want to be as close to you as you and Kazama are. Girls gotta stick together. Do you think we can get along? Naruko wasn't so sure, but Izanami seemed so nice, she didn't have the heart to say no. Kazama's face suddenly turned cold. What is it, Tiger? Izanami asked him. It's starting. Toby. Obito had to admit the team he had been assigned to was unusual. He had expected to be assigned to Sasuke's group, but instead had found himself in another set of 6. 3 of them were the Sannin, which relieved him a little. The other 2 though. Time is money, Kakuzu declared rashly, time spent waiting is money wasted. Hurry up. Where did they find this guy? You and Scab would get along instantly. Another Naruto Uzumaki. Obito was starting to wonder why there were so many of them among their ranks, called Inari, joined them at a casual pace. He looked at Obito, and frowned, his gaze suspicious. This is the second time a Naruto Uzumaki has given me the cold shoulder, Obito noted, is it something I did? I am afraid I also share your burden, Orochimaru told him, it appears our counterparts tend to frequently possess concerning reputations. That's one way of putting it, Inari trailed off, smiling sheepishly at their concern. But if you guys are with us, you can't possibly be complete assholes, so me and everyone else will give you the benefit of the doubt. Just roll with it for a while and it will go away eventually. So I'm on probation. Wonderful. Better than that Kabuto from Tikoku. Tsunade grimaced. I don't think anyone intends for him to live through this mess if they can help it. I wouldn't if I were you. Kakuzu crossed his arms. Guys like that always have backups to ensure that people don't get any wise ideas. I'd bet a good amount on that. And I'd bet that you're saying that because you're part of some of those backups. Inari shot the former Akatsuki a knowing look. The heart thief glared at the blonde for several long seconds, while the boy's smile grew more savage. It reminded Obito of a fox testing the limits of a henhouse. Chibaku approached them and began distributing black armbands. Okay, you've been divided into teams of 5 to 6 people, Atlas declared to the crowd. Your group members have been determined to either have shown strong teamwork or cover each other's weaknesses. The armbands are receptors tuned to Kegaya's chakra. Her dimensional powers will allow us to coordinate, and she will send you extra chakra. Now is not the time to pull any punches. Go all out. I will start sending you into the fray within the next 5 minutes, Kazama declared, meditating at the center of the room. If you've got last words to share, now is the time. Kakuzu sighed. If I survive, I swear I will take 5 ryo from the first beggar I see. You mean give it to him? Obito asked. No, charity starts with yourself. It doesn't look like you've been too generous to yourself. Jiraiya glanced at the man's tattered clothing. Tell that to the uncharted tropical islands I own and certainly don't grow exotic contraband on. You actually bought the islands? Chibaku skeptically asked. Long-term tax deductions. Hinata is going to castrate me when she learns of all the shit I've been getting into without her, Inari wept. With Jukin, Obito had to speak up in concern. Your girlfriend threatened to castrate you. Yeah, does it all the time. And you, don't see anything wrong with that. She's trained in medical jutsu by my Tsunade and has the Byakugan. It would be insulting if I didn't assume that she was capable of it. I wasn't questioning her skill. Don't you think that her reaction might be a bit extreme? It's not like I won't get better. Silence followed. I will act as if none of you exist from now on, Kakuzu said. That threat's overrated, Chibaku said, his voice deadpan. My father figure tried to castrate me too. As far as I'm concerned, if your loved ones don't try to sterilize you at least once, then they aren't trying. I am afraid he succeeded, Orochimaru coughed, pointing his index finger at Chibaku's puppet body. It was an emergency procedure. Inari smiled wickedly. Are you sure? Chibaku paused, glanced at his legs, then at Inari, then at his waist again. Sasori, you magnificent ghost bastard. Obito had always believed his life had been a catastrophic mess, but by the heavens, these ones had clearly suffered abuse. I'm not really the best judge on romantic relationships, the Uchiha said, but a partner threatening to mutilate the other is not okay. Did she hit you? Once or twice, Inari paused. You think I'm in an abusive relationship. And the fact you don't see anything wrong with it is worrying. I think they're just codependent, Chibaku said, or he's a sub. I don't know if that makes it worse or better. Come to think of it, this gives me ideas for some puppets. Come on, stop picking on me. Inari complained, with a mocking tone, as Kazama began to teleport the first teams. Never. How could they joke about a subject this serious? Obito resolved to have a very serious conversation with these youngsters, if he survived the upcoming catastrophe, that is. Teams 23, 24, 25, prepare. Kazama called. That's us, Inari said, shaking Chibaku's hand. If we survive, I would have invited you to Ichiraku's, but in your current case. Just set me up with that weapon girl you told me about. Sorry, I don't do miracles, Inari smiled, then his face turned serious. Don't die. Hey, you too. Chibaku replied from his post. Good luck. Go. Kazama shouted. The scenery collapsed on itself, as time and space bent around them, calling them down a wormhole. When Obito, Inari, Kakuzu, and the Sannin rematerialized, they found a giant fireball falling on them. Shinra 10. Obito didn't finish his sentence, as Orochimaru quickly slammed his hands to the ground. A giant, purple snake popped out into existence, the fireball impacting on his head before it could reach the group. The snake staggered a little at the impact. 3 times, Orochimaru. The giant snake didn't sound angered at being used as a shield. In fact, he seemed even somewhat smug. You used me as a shield 3 times. Your debt just keeps getting bigger and bigger. On a side note, my head feels particularly odd. I don't like it. That is called pain, Manda. Wow, I thought that was just a mammalian birth defect. I stand corrected. The skies were red, ripped open like a cracked egg. A blue planet falling through a rift, infinitely bigger than Kazama's portals. The surrounding lands had been utterly scourged of life. Only a burned desert surrounded them, a tower of metal standing in the middle of the devastated wasteland. The relay was shrouded by a purple shield of chakra, spared from the battle around it. 2 other teams were already present. Half of them were variations of Naruto Uzumaki, including Menma, and his pink-haired friend. Most of the others, Obito didn't recognize. Spiral had remained behind with Naruto, to confront the original warlord. His shadow clone, protecting the relay, would prove more than. Wait. No, not 1. 5. There were 5 of them. Inari blinked, eyes bulging out. Well, this is happening, he said, before vanishing in a gust of wind, later. Wow, this guy looks strong. For a human, Manda smirked condescendingly as he finally noticed the warlord's clones turn to them. It seems I will have to use the snake's ultimate supreme technique of end of the world genocide. What is that? Obito couldn't help but blink. Hit it really hard. In spite of the terribleness of their situation, Obito couldn't help but smile as he walked into battle. Yugito. Kitten, I'm so stressed. Me too, Yugito thought, as the last teams were teleported away, leaving only a few people left in the building. The Arashi clan as a whole stood with her. Naruto and Haku were talking off to the side, the latter laughing at a joke of the former. Naruto's skin was covered by that strange symbiote, Spiral, whose appearance slightly bothered Yugito for a reason she couldn't put a finger on. Karasu and Chibaku stuck together, the former clearly happy to stretch his legs and see once again. Kitsune stayed a bit afar, meditating. The Dark Wolf and Sasuke arrived together, a bit closer to one another than Yugito was comfortable with. Izanami waited for Kazama to send the last teams and come. Only Kagaya would remain behind, supplying teams with her boundless chakra from afar, and teleporting teams from one battlefield to another as necessary. What's up, Chibaku? Naruto seemed a bit disturbed by Chibaku's new puppet body. You're quiet. Naruto. His mechanical eyes were blank and hollow. Not flat, lady. Naruto seemed downright bothered. Chibaku. Lightning. What about lightning? I never knew you could use it half the ways Sasuke-san did. It opened my mind. Naruto wisely dropped the conversation. Sasuke, however, didn't. You were watching us. His tone was cordial, and yet threatening at the same time. The Dark Wolf silently put a hand on her blades. Chibaku sighed. Okay, no more peeping. Geez, I thought you would be less stuck up after finally getting. Yugito did her best to pretend this conversation never happened. Kazama finally joined the group, preparing his space-time ninjutsu. We don't have the optimal team, Yugito told him. Wouldn't have it been better to keep our strongest warriors to confront the original? We might have, Kazama conceded, but with so much on the line, I would rather make my last stand with my family and my friends than with strangers. Call me selfish, if you like. No, Yugito replied, I understand perfectly. I'm just the second in command. It's my role to be your minder. You have the final say. He nodded in thanks. You performed admirably. I'm glad I made the right choice when I chose you as field leader. I didn't do much. You kept this team in one piece. It's more than I could ever do. His pained tone convinced Yugito to drop the subject. She offered him a sharp nod, thankful for his trust. So this is the end? She asked. The last enemy. The trials will never end, Kazama replied, but yes. I think we're going to rest afterward. Either because we're dead, or because we'll deserve it. You certainly are optimistic. No, actually I am very hopeful. I walk into the fight without regrets. That's quite a first. Yugito meditated on his words, her life flashing before her eyes. Kumo was so far away, a distant home she had left behind. Could she ever return? Did she want to return? No, she thought, glancing at the people around her, my home is here. Neither do I. Kazama smiled, and noticed the Kubikiribocho Haku was carrying. Nice sword, he told her. Thank you, Kazama-san, she replied with a warm smile. I believe I can finally carry Zabuza-sama's will by my own strength. I am sure he is watching you from afar, proud of what you've become. You've matured into a powerful kunoichi. His eyes settled on Kitsune next. You've too grown into a fine person, Kitsune. I remember when I first found you, broken and despaired. Now you've grown sound in mind and body. The young monk bowed respectfully. It is thanks to all of you, he declared. You believed in me, helped me. You know, Chibaku suddenly spoke up, once I didn't really care about people not named Sasori or Kabuto. I just lived for myself. That was before I met you guys, now I actually give a shit about people. That's pretty strange. I feel so warm and fuzzy, and I don't even have blood anymore. That's called empathy, Karasu replied, get used to it. My, aren't you feeling nostalgic? Izanami teased them. A little, Kazama admitted, we've gone a long way since our first meetings. From outcasts to a team, and finally a family. The gap is far and wide. Come on, you're talking as if we're going to our deaths. Izanami put an arm around her lovers and smiled at Yugito. While the kunoichi knew the Uchiha was probably just teasing her, it still made her slightly uncomfortable. Sasuke, strangely, didn't react violently. Naruto, since this may be our last conversation together, he said, there is something I must tell you. What? Sasuke gave him the scariest smile Yugito had ever seen, the wicked grin of someone having fulfilled a sweet revenge plot. I had my kunai inside you, he declared, his tone ominous, and you loved it. Kazama remained completely still for several seconds, his eyes bulging. He looked at the dark wolf, who blushed a little. Finally, the blonde let out a long sigh, and sent his friend a wicked smile of his own as he finished his ninjutsu. Still sleeping with your mother. Space collapsed on them. Although Yugito had traveled through portals many times, this particular voyage lasted much longer than expected. She sensed the world's weight on her shoulders. The world she stepped inside was bathed by light, yet the horizon was black as night. The moon, she could feel it call her. Its light leading her mind into a torpor. A wave of purple chakra, released by Kazama, returned her to reality. The infinite Tsukuyomi, Kazama said, sounding both surprised and saddened, I can shield you from it while you remain in my range. That's really bad, Spiral said, I can feel the world tree has woken up. The entire planet is within reach of its roots. I can sense two strong chakra signatures fighting miles away from us, Sasuke said, his eyes closed, I think, it's the Valley of the End. Yugito blinked a few times in a row, until she could fully see again. A forest, deep and old, with great trees as tall as small skyscrapers. Why did the Land of Fire have so many forests? If you ask me, kitten, I think their ninjas just woke up one morning, and said, fire's awesome, let's name our country after it. Are you making jokes? I'm stressed. I can feel his chakra from there, and I'm not a sensor. Yugito noticed it soon enough, a surge of power spreading through the very atmosphere. Above, Karasu said, pointing an index finger at the moon. The warlord's flying ship was almost invisible above their heads, so far away Yugito could have mistaken it for a bird. What do we do about the two chakra signatures? Izanami asked. Enemies. Friends. There, Sasuke trailed with a frown. I think they're us. Kazama frowned deeply, his eyebrows creasing as he considered his options. We know who the warlord is aiming for. Let's make sure he doesn't get any closer. Kitsune, can you hit from there? I think so, Kazama-san. The monk was already transforming into his Dragon Sage mode, his golden scales shining under the terrible moonlight. He gathered senjutsu around him, the natural chakra becoming visible. There's so much power to draw upon. Oh yes, Spiral said, strange markings starting to spread over Naruto's face. Karasu's body began to grow wings, as he morphed into a strange crow hybrid. Chibaku began to gather senjutsu near his maw, into a spiraling sphere of light. Then, without warning, the sphere flared like a star and pierced through the clouds like a cannonball. The projectile hit and vaporized the warlord's fortress, the distant explosion nothing more than a distant glow of green. He's dead, Karasu asked, his tone doubtful. Why do you even ask? Izanami replied, as the dark wolf unsheathed her swords. A red star fell from the flying fortress, aiming right at them. Prepare, Kazama ordered, the rest of the group adopting battle stances. A strange, ethereal figure began to manifest behind Izanami's back. He's coming. Whatever happens, let's face it together. Yugito breathed long and hard, the Nibi's chakra flowing through her veins. The anticipation was killing her. She didn't have to wait long. The warlord crashed against a nearby tree like a meteor, the shockwave blowing sawdust and leaves to Yugito's face. A figure emerged from the resulting cloud of smoke. He was the exact same as when Yugito had the displeasure of crossing his path. He was shirtless, wearing only black pants with a golden dragon motif. Yet he moved like a wolf among sheep, the smooth walk of a predator among prey. He radiated killing intent like a sun. Anything less than a veteran would have trembled in fear at his mere presence. Yet no member of the group cowered. Their trials had toughened them, shaped them into warriors. Would that be enough? Too much to bear, isn't it? The warlord sounded so soft, so friendly. So Naruto-like, it shook Yugito to the core. My overwhelming power. Something you copies will never equal. Try us, Kazama replied. I will. His voice was wanting, eager. It doesn't have to end like this, Kazama pleaded, without raising his tone. The warlord exploded into a deep, cruel laughter that showed genuine amusement. Trying the redemption speech on me? Me? I thought you were better than that. Not a speech. A last chance. If I could stop, perhaps even you can. In my travels, I've learned that nothing is impossible. Ah, but why would I stop? This world is mine alone. You're just squatting on it. I won't stop until I'm the last one standing, simple as that. And maybe, just maybe, it's time you accepted that you're not going to win today. I know this is hard for you to understand, but, you don't matter. You're just a copy of me some random god invented because he didn't have any imagination. And that makes us less valuable than you. Karasu replied. Yes. Fuck that, I'm alive. I have friends. I have got goals of my own. Who are you to say I'm not important? Funny thing, Chibaku chuckled, if you were the original I'm pretty sure you would have started on World Prime. I wouldn't count on the original living much longer than the time it'll take me to get to him. The warlord glanced at the ninjas behind Kazama. I thought we would have a duel. Why don't you tell your cannon fodder to leave real fighters decide the outcome? I don't stand alone, Kazama replied, I never did. You are not fighting me, warlord. You are fighting the entire world. The odds aren't in your favor. You think sidekicks give you power? Fool, they're not strengthening you, they're only holding you back. True power comes when casting aside all fetters. Reason, weakness, friends. But enough chit-chat. I suppose I'll start with your girlfriend. Or maybe the little girl. Over my dead body, Sasuke replied. You can't even begin to comprehend how many of them I've stepped on. And when I did step over yours, Uchiha, I looked like this. His crimson chakra overwhelmed the horizon, flooding the countryside like a tsunami. A Susanoo, Sasuke's, most probably, put his arms around the group, shielding them all from the flames, but not from the overwhelming pressure. The forest had been incinerated for almost a mile around them. At ground zero, only a monster remained, standing among ashes. This was some kind of twisted Jinchuriki mode, and a mocking parody of the Sage of the Six Paths. The warlord's skin was covered by a dense layer of crimson consisting of blood and chakra. The creature had claws, and fangs, and a strange cloak stretching back behind him. Golden lines stretched over his bones like war paints. Each of his 9 tails ended with a skin skull. Each head belonged to the Kyuubi, screaming in pain and agony. The 10th face, the one on the main body, was the most human, yet also the most savage, his eyes 2 black holes without pity nor fear. Let me introduce you to my good old friend, Ravana, the Six Paths Demon Mode. His power made the earth shake with every step, as he began walking forward. Yugito bit her lips, and began her full transformation. Come die. The warlord shouted, in between fits of maniacal laughter, as his tails lashed out at them like a hydra's heads. Put on a good show. The Arashi let out a battle cry, and charged. Chapter 60. The end. The entire area was rapidly turned into a wasteland. Beams of red lights fell like rain upon the earth, cleansing the area of life and turning the soil into hundreds of thousands of small craters. Kazama, through the Mikio space-time ninjutsu, hopped across the battlefield, crossing portal after portal, launching fireballs at the warlord in between. None of them inflicted any damage. His Kaiden techniques, enhanced by Madara's wisdom and in-depth knowledge of ninjutsu, washed off the warlord's reddish cloak, like water upon a rocky shore. The most humiliating part was, Kazama would see the warlord could have dodged them if he had wanted to, but he didn't. His techniques were beneath the monster's attention. The warlord's twisted transformation had made him fast as Minato Namikaze. The Dark Wolf kept him occupied for now, swinging 2 blades with expert skill. One was her own, and the other she had taken from Mifune.